Hey guys, welcome back to Slightly Magic. Today we're talking about gimmicks. Have you ever wanted to make your own cards, your own double face cards, blank cards, or even splitting cards? Well, that's what we're going to work on. I've decided to put some effort into this, and I'm trying to collaborate with another person to bring you all kinds of gimmick building tutorials. So today I thought I would go through just the main things that I use in order to make gimmicks, and I've got pretty much everything I need right here. So let's take a look at everything. Take a look at a few of the things that I have here. Here are some examples of a few things. Here we've got a joker on one side, a 5 of hearts on another side. Here we have just a split card. This is just the back portion of the card plus the glue layer. So this is thicker than the paper layer. So that's the back side of that. Blank cards. This is the face split with the cardboard layer in the back. This is just a back paper, just the paper. So I keep a few of these. I split cards every once in a while because if you're going to get into this, you're going to learn. It can be a bit of a pain. So anytime I get into it, I split a bunch of cards and have them ready. Here's neat gimmick. We might get into that later. Also, I make these. I love these things. Flap cards. Might get into that. We'll see. So I get into all these things, but today what we're going to talk about is what you need in order to make those things happen, to get you to a point where you can actually work on some stuff. So here, this is a small version of a self-healing cutting mat. When you cut things on here with an X-Acto knife and you cut through this, it heals itself. It's got all these little fibers that go back together. It's really handy. It's really good for this kind of stuff. And I've got just a bigger version right here underneath. Glue. Let's talk about glue. Gluing cards together. Rubber cement. There is nothing better. It's great, great, great. We'll get into details on how to use it properly in future videos. Today it's just the things that you need. Glue stick. Just a regular everyday glue stick. And super glue. This happens to be Gorilla Glue, but you can use regular super glue. Okay. Next, some supplies here. This is a deck of blank cards. Okay. This is always good to have. You can do all kinds of things with these. I always have a mini deck. There's all kinds of things you can do with a mini deck. They're just mini cards, bicycle cards. Let's see. In order to start making things happen, we need. So we've got card split. We've got glue. In order to cut cards, this is a Wonder Cutter. Basically, what it does is got little pieces that you can punch in that outline either short cards or round corners. It helps cut cards exactly in half, either lengthwise or widthwise, which is great. You can also cut any size that you want, up or down, which is great. And you can even cut the circles out of bicycle cards with this one. So this thing's great. It really helps getting, especially when you're cutting things in half or scoring things in half. Anytime I have a deck of cards that's not going to be used for anything really, I take the boxes because I make a lot of gimmick boxes and I always cut them out. These are great to have. So anytime you run out of, or anytime you're going to retire a deck of cards, keep the box so you can use these. So got that and that. Cutting. I always have a good X-Acto knife, box cutter. Lots of blades. Don't be afraid to change a blade. You want sharp, sharp blades. Also, I got this more precision kit. In here are all kinds of different blades. This thing's really good, and I use this every day. This is better than the X-Acto when it comes to precision, but you got to be careful sometimes because it likes to wiggle and bend, so sometimes you get weird curved lines if you're not careful. Okay, so that's that. Next up, magnets. We need lots of magnets. These are 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter diameter, 2 millimeter thickness. These are great. They come in usually 50 or 100 or something like that. I buy lots of those. We need a good rubber eraser. It's got some cool uses for it. We need some clear tape. This is medical tape. I like this because it's very easy to work with, and you don't end up with it stuck to itself. Balloons. What do we need balloons for? I don't use them as balloons. We're going to use them as elastics, mostly here in the neck. This is great for snapping flaps and stuff like that. Speaking of that, this here is clear invisible thread, stretchy invisible thread, and we use this for all kinds of things. Must have. This here, this is a card press that I made. Okay, it just unscrews, and then I always have this deck of cards in there. This deck of cards been there probably for 10 years. When I make gimmicks and I glue them or whatever, or I split them and I don't want to let them get all wrinkled, I want to keep them flat. Just unscrew this, stick them in the middle of that deck, clamp it, leave it there for a day, and it flattens all your cards and makes them look nice. Obviously a good pair of scissors, some sandpaper. This is 220 grit sandpaper. I usually use this when I have cards that are split really poorly, which are usually newer cards. Newer cards are very difficult to split, and you end up with bumps and ridges. If you don't use sandpaper, you're going to end up with a bumpy gimmick. It's going to go through the card, especially the paper layer. It's going to go through and it's going to show on the card. So just a little bit with this, and then some really fine grit sandpaper, like 500, 700, something like that, to finish it off, and it helps them adhere better without splitting. You need a good ruler, and you definitely need some double-sided sticky tape. This stuff rocks. There's so many things you can do with this stuff, but make sure you get thin stuff. This looks thick, but it's not. Once you peel off the layers, it's just as thin as this. See, and then this is my collection of usable markers. You always need a Sharpie, okay? You need some gel pens. This is for touching up cards, black, red, and blue you need. These here, these are Frixion pens. These are invisible ink pens. When you write something down and you add heat to it, it disappears. It's really cool, and I use those a lot. Okay, so the only thing I don't have on here that I usually have, I have a bone knife. It's for when you put cards together, in order to smooth them out, to get all the ripples out, you take the bone knife. You can use like a glue stick or a rolling pin, or even a Sharpie marker. But I have a bone folder for that purpose. You can get them on Amazon. They're probably 15, 20 bucks, something like that. And the other thing I don't have here right now is a rubber cement pickup or rubber cement eraser. They're brown. They're very inexpensive. Not always the easiest thing to find. Like most of the time you're not going to see it at Walmart or something like that. The best place to get it is online, and it's great for once you're glued and everything's done. This rubber cement pickup takes all the rubber cement that might have leaked out the edges. It makes the edges nice and clean, and it takes off all the glue, and then you just pull the glue off the eraser pickup. So that's the only thing I'm missing here. So take a look, see, this is what you need. This is kind of what you got to get in order to make most of the things you want. There might be a few little this and that's, but for the most part, I can make just about any gimmick here. Another thing you might want to consider is construction paper or thick paper in some different colors, like black. Black is good for making envelopes that you would put cards in. You can make false pockets and things like that. So that's always good to have around. And the last thing, which I have here somewhere, this here. Okay, this here is clear sticky film. Okay, the reason for this is because some gimmicks that you make, especially box gimmicks, if you're going to have a card that's attached to the box or something like that, when you put this stuff on the card and you attach the card to the front of a box, it looks like the cellophane is still on it. So it gives it that little more realism. So this stuff is great. It's cheap, and like this is probably enough for my whole lifetime. But yeah, this stuff is great. You don't need all this stuff to right away. I mean, you could, once you learn how to split cards, you've got your split cards, you can glue them together, trying to match them up exactly just by sight, or really all you need is cards and X-Acto knife, really, and you can pretty much do all kinds of stuff. But having all this stuff makes everything easier. Making gimmicks is not easy. It is precise most of the time, and it's so easy to mess something up. It only takes one small little mess up to ruin a gimmick that you spend a couple hours or even maybe a couple of days making. So keep that in mind. And my number one tip for building gimmicks that you want to use and you want to use for a while: wash your hands. Make sure your hands are super clean every time you start doing this, because as soon as you start getting smudges here and there, and you're pushing and you're rolling and you're touching stuff, by the time that card's done, it doesn't look like a brand new card. Wash your hands. That's not just a COVID thing. That's a card gimmick thing.